development company. Tonight I'm here at Startup Grind. It was really awesome to be here. What I learned is that the world is big out there and there's a lot of budding guys who are taking advantage of the internet. Google Cloud is amazing, and I think this is something that everybody should get into. It's really awesome to be here, learning a lot. Yeah, thanks.
So I'd like to introduce our guest for today. She's the lead for VC and startup business development for Israel and Africa. So she's come all the way from Tel Aviv. Before she joined Google, she worked for Magma Ventures, which is one of the biggest VCs in Israel. She was in charge of deal flow and business development, and she's got a BA degree and an MBA from Jerusalem University. Please, ladies and gentlemen, get up on your feet and let's give a warm round of applause to Naama Yanko. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Naama.
Hi, everyone.
So Naama and I have known each other for a very long time. We've known each other for 24 hours.
No,
right?
we know each other for 3 weeks, I think. But,
3 weeks we've been talking on Hangout.
Yeah.
And we
That's
met
right.
yesterday in person, and
Yeah.
she's an amazing person. The way she was on the phone, the way it was on Hangout and in person. And thank you for the generous gifts.
Thank you for having us, both Shai and me and Dan and everyone, and great to be here.
Thank you. So we would like just to know about you, your background. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I was born in a city south of Tel Aviv called Ashkelon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the second child of 4. I have an older sister and a younger sister and a younger brother. We're 3 girls very close at age, so we're like best friends.
Yeah.
In high school, I went to a youth movement, traveled a lot. It's one of the most best things one of the best things I love to do, so I also love to travel around the world.
Yeah.
Studied computer science
Mm-hmm.
in high school, major in biology. At the age of 18, went to the army, like everyone in Israel. I was a tank instructor for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and when I finished my military service, I went to a summer camp to volunteer in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
work with with Jewish people,
Oh, fantastic.
kids. Yeah.
And
So-
you went to Jerusalem, Hebrew
Yeah.
University.
So when I came back, I started my BA in political science and international relations in the Hebrew University.
Yeah.
When I graduated, I was in Israel, the age you go to school is by the way you went to the army. So I started the army early, and I graduated. I finished the army early. And I started I had my BA at the age of 24, which is very young in Israel. I know here it's old. So I felt like I'm young and I still don't know what I want to do when I grew up. So I went to be a flight attendant at the Israeli airline for 2.5 years. And that was my big trip after the army, because everyone goes to 1 year trip, usually in India or in South America. So because I didn't have that trip, I went to be a flight attendant. So I traveled the world, met a lot of interesting people. Was great experience. Tried to understand what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah. And what are some of your favorite destinations?
Obviously New York. I don't know. Yeah. That was my number 1. But I was just enjoying being new places. So I've been to Johannesburg several times, in Europe, the US, of course, Miami and LA and Hong Kong, and really was amazing.
Brilliant. I'm not very happy with your answer. Even if it was that time, you should have said Cape Town.
It's my first time in Cape Town this week, so.
Welcome. So I'm sure now it's
Thank
your
you.
number one destination,
Yeah,
right?
now.
Great. When you went to New York, was it winter and summer? Because New York is like they put these weird people that are cold, don't talk anybody to talk to anybody in winter. Like they'll hold the lift for you, but do not say hello. But in summer, it's like they took all of them out and brought in new people. Say hello. Hello.
So New York is very different in the summer and winter.
Mhm.
I was in summer, in winter, like El Al still have 3 flights a day, so you usually get there twice
Wow.
a month.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, great, great.
yeah.
And then when you graduated, did you get your first deal at Magma Ventures, or you went to Deloitte first, or what?
Yeah, so while I was in El Al, I was thinking about my next career step, and I felt that I still don't know what I want to do, but I love studying, so I did my GMAT exam and went to an MBA at the Hebrew U,
Yeah.
major in finance, because my BA was it wasn't science, and I studied computer science in high school, so I felt that I want something more analytic. So went to study MBA. I felt like I wanna understand better the business world. So started, and when I started, I felt like I'm ready to find like what I want to do in life,
Yeah.
and because I knew that I love to work with people, and I want to maybe help people, I thought that working in HR would be something interesting and a good fit for me.
Mm.
So I worked for 2.5 years
In HR.
in HR company, yeah, during my MBA, and it was also an interesting experience just to meet a lot of people and a lot of companies to understand their needs, and was interesting. But then I realized what I'm really missing, and I felt like I'm missing work with technology and business, and yeah, and I was lucky to find a job once I graduated my MBA, the job at Deloitte as head of deal flow. And then that was the first time I was actually getting to know the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Israel. I didn't know what a VC is before, so for me it was very exciting to get to know this world. And I was lucky enough to move to a VC, which I think was the best business school I could ever ask.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So we'll get some of those business school lessons that you got. What in deal flow, what are you looking for? Because I know a lot of people are looking for money and looking for funding at different levels, and then we talk VCs, like it's just a whole different type of ball game, and very few people understand what's involved. What was your job and
Yeah.
what's involved in that?
So each VC invests in different stages and different spaces. Means that Magma invested in what we used to call ICT, information communication technology, which means that it's everything besides biotech, medical.
Yeah.
Those are like the main things that we didn't do. And so that was what we're doing. Magma is an early stage VC. The structure of the fund is that we have partners, and we had me. Like there were no analysts or associates or principals.
Oh, cool.
That's why I was so fortunate to work very closely with the partners that are very experienced, super smart people, very creative, willing to take risks. I just told someone earlier that Magma is the first investor in Waze
Oh, yeah.
that you all know.
Yeah, Waze is an Israeli company.
Yeah, it's an Israeli company acquired by Google,
By Google,
and
yeah.
we're now in the same building. And
Oh, nice.
actually, Waze got no from all the VCs in Israel because they were B2C, and Israelis are not good in B2C companies. We're better in B2B, in cyber, in automotive, in other spaces. But B2C, it was the first B2C product that was successful, like going out from Israel.
Oh, nice. Great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Before I come to my next question, there are seats in front here. Okay, guys, there's like 5 seats, 6, so you can come to front and sit.
Or you can stand if you want.
Great. And so, what do VCs look for? Like, if I wanted to approach a VC, what would you look at?
Yeah, so I can say that after a week here, I met all kind of investors, angel investors and VCs, and it's very different from Israel. In Israel, we're very tech-oriented. Like we have like top people getting experience hands-on in tech, very special from the army. So once you go out from the army, you don't need a degree to start your own startup. So in Israel, we look for technical teams. Like team would be the number one thing that that investor will look, like his experience, what he does, and it's like a small community, so everyone knows who was doing what, even if it's like top secret. Some of the partners come from this unit, so yeah.
Wow.
So that would be, I think, the first thing that every investor will look. Second will be problem, and if the venture, if the startup, if the solution is solving any problem in the market, any market. Usually we don't invest in, like, no Israeli VC will invest in a startup that's addressing Israeli market. We're like 8 million people. It's not big enough. VC is a financial institution, and eventually they need to show returns, so it's not big enough. So only US, and in the past years we see also companies addressing Asia. So that would be the second thing that they'll look. There needs to be a solution that answer a pain in markets like cyber market, retail, anything. Yeah, so those are the main two, and addressable market, like how big is the market, what is the potential, because investors are finance people and they do the math. If that's the size is that big, what are the options, like it's called M&A strategy, like who are the potential corporate that can buy the company in what amount, so the market should be big enough. Also VCs, they are all kind of type. There are like $25 million VC, and the returns should look different than $200 million VC.
Okay. And so from Magma, you moved to
Google.
So you're going to Google.
Yeah.
Cool. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I think the same process I did when I worked in HR, and I thought like what I want to do, and I said I want to keep working with people, and I want to do business and technology. That was kind of the same process before I left Magma. And when you're doing deal flow, maybe I should explain what deal flow is. So deal flow is all the opportunities, the investment opportunities we get from the ecosystem and from our network. So partners, obviously, 20 years in the market, they have their own connections, and so I got all their opportunities, and I was actively going to look for investment opportunities. If it's going to conferences and networking and like making connections with other VCs because they don't invest in this stage and we do, so maybe we can switch deal flow. It's like service providers, accounting, lawyers. So every startup, the first stage is going to sign on the founders agreement. So usually lawyers know first who is doing what. So it's also a way to get good deals. So I was doing that, analyzing what we were getting every year, if we saw more startups in specific space, serial entrepreneurs, if they came, if we read on the news about a company that raised $5 million from Sequoia, if we saw them, why we didn't see them. So there's a lot of things that you wanna like learn through the process to get better deals.
You see, and with the short time that you've been in Cape Town in South Africa, what are the opportunities that you see here, and what advice would you have for entrepreneurs here?
So I think you have a lot of opportunities here. I think you have a lot of challenges and local problems that I think one day and not so far from today will become global issues. And the water crisis is a great example, because we have global warming, and it's just a matter of time that other countries will face the same issue. And I think if you can find good solutions to that, you can export this technology or solution. It doesn't have to be technology. But what I noticed is that a lot of businesses like address local market. And I think for like investment perspective, I'm sure like it's a much bigger market than Israel, but still you wanna be able to reach out other markets. And there's a lot of meaning in terms of local economy, because you like once a corporate buy local company, like a lot of money enter to the country. So we have more than 400 multinationals in Israel, and many of them opened R&D centers and innovation centers following acquiring like Israeli startup.
Okay.
So it's amazing. It creates more jobs and it enter more money. And it's something that in Israel, because we're like doing that for so many years, we understand that, and there's a lot of support from the government. Like that's our, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And then your work at Google, you lead VC and startup business, business development. What does that involve? Like,
Yeah.
is it similar to the
So I'm
deal
not
flow?
part of the investment team of Google. I'm not part of GV. I get like at least once a week on LinkedIn that is a mail from a startup that they want to pitch me their idea, but I'm not. I know it's confusing. Yeah. So my team, we're a global team. We have presence globally in APAC and India, Israel, Europe, and the US. And from like my experience at Google, I know it's a bit off topic. It's an amazing experience because I get a perspective of global, like what global trends and what's going on in the rest of the regions, and not only in Israel. I work with local market, but I have like, we built global strategy, which is amazing. So VC is like our name code to VC accelerators, incubators, universities, co-working spaces, what we call partners that we work with in order to work with their portfolio companies to help them get the support they need to their business through Google Cloud. And we do it through the technology we have, the support, and whatever they need around it, if it's knowledge, if it's training, if it's office hours, everything, and with credit. So we like help them with credits, and $3,000 is our offer to anyone who wants to try, get to know, have an idea, want to play with the platform.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And you mentioned a little bit about Google, and it's not off topic, so I would take you there.
No, it's no,
What
it's off
makes
topic. I'm working in a global team, but
what makes Google an amazing company? Like, what are some of the things we can learn from? Because here we have people who are at different levels. There are people in big organizations, people big companies, others just starting. Like, what are the things we could learn from Google itself?
So I think it's two main things. One is innovation, and you see it everywhere from engineering and from our culture, and you always like try new things. And the second that is related to that is like there's a lot of tolerance to failure, and you're being encouraged just to try. So I came to Google from Magma, which I work with like tolerance to mistakes wasn't like the best. Like I had to work like everything should be in place.
And so you filtered a lot of words there. Like you worked with...
Yeah, so yeah. So there's no room for mistakes when you work with investors, and there's a lot of money involved in it, and you're in a competition. You're in competition on LPs, limited partners who invest in VCs, on entrepreneurs, like good entrepreneurs. If you think someone is good, probably there are 3 more VCs who think that it's good, and you're competing on the deal. And it's just the way, like my previous manager from Magma, who is amazing, and like we're in a very close relationship, but he was very, very like into the details. And when I started at Google, and I had like my first project, and my manager asked me what's going on. It's like a week from when we talked about this project, and I said I'm working on it. And after a month, he said, Naama, what's going on? It's been a month. Like, just write a doc, share with us. We'll give you our feedback. And I said, no, it has to be perfect, and it's not perfect yet. So that is something that I think personally I learned from Google, and it's amazing because it encourages you to try things. And it's okay if it's not working. Like, you need to launch. It's not working, try to iterate. It's not working, leave it, move to the next thing. So it always encourages you to, you should be an entrepreneur yourself. So it's amazing, it's never boring. And it's all this, and you have this all the tools and environment that are encourage you to innovate and inspiring you. So,
brilliant. And I see like Google, like a lot of the old beta launch something, and then get feedback from people. If it doesn't work, they kill it, and then you have something else like that. But in like practically, how would you teach somebody to be okay with failure? And also, at what point you say, look, you've been failing now for too many times? Or are there guidelines on how to fail?
So it's not that
not like everybody gets an A for effort.
So it's not about like rating. It's just, so you need to know your market, and you need to do things. For example, this event, no one told me, like my manager didn't tell me you should host an event. I said I'm coming, I said the day, and that's it. I'm organizing everything. So I need to think how I do it. I need to reach out to people. I need to get to know this ecosystem. I need to know, okay, so you have Startup Grind. Is it like in Israel? Should I host the event with you? Shouldn't? Like, there's a lot of things that I'm building the strategy, and I'm discussing it with my manager.
Brilliant.
So you have a lot of, like, it's very empowering to like lead things. It's very, there's no micromanagement in Google.
Oh, brilliant.
So there is a lot of tolerance for failure. Obviously, it's like, I think I'm leading the Israeli market successfully, but if I won't do my job, so I won't do my job. If I won't have new partners, and I won't have new startups in the program, and I won't initiate new things that are a good fit for the market, then I'm not doing a good job, so I won't get an A.
Brilliant. And for you, like you mentioned yesterday that you were in companies or meetings where you're the only woman, and what has the experience been for you, like growing up and work and all that?
So it's funny, when I started at Google, I organized like a technical session at one of our partners in Nielsen. I don't know if you have this company here. It's like a marketing research company. So they have an incubator in Israel, and someone tagged me, and I was the only woman in the room. And when I left, I got like text messages from friends, women, that told me, you're the only one in the room. So most of the time, I'm the only woman in the room, but I don't see it. And I think like other people might notice that. I don't, and I think it's mostly because of the education that I got from home. Like I was never taught to treat myself as a woman. Like I'm Naama and I need to work hard and I need to prove myself if I want to be successful. And like that's why when I'm entering a room, I don't see if I'm the only woman in the room or if there are more women. I have manager who is a female, and like the person who runs all Google Cloud, like it's the enterprise unit, is a woman, and she founded VMware, one of the largest companies in in cloud. So, and she's doing an amazing job, and I don't think anyone is even like saying something or considering the fact that she's a woman.
Yeah, yeah. And so what advice would you give to women in tech here in Cape Town, South Africa? I know that part of it you've said it already. What other advice would you?
Yeah, so I think there's no barriers if you don't like looking or see the barriers. If I would treat myself as a woman, I would see the barriers. But like, again, I think you should have a goal, aim for it, and don't see like the obstacles in the way, like I'm a woman, so I won't.
So if somebody just challenges you, they're just challenging you, not they're challenging me because I'm a woman.
Exactly.
Or I'm challenging you because I'm challenging me because I am.
Yeah.
Like we can put different things.
Yeah.
Challenging me because I'm black. I'm challenging me because I'm short. You're challenging me because I'm, you know. Okay, great.
Yeah. Sheryl Sandberg wrote in her book that a woman should sit in the table and not around the table, like in the second row. And I have to say, I never thought about sitting in the second row. I was always sitting in the table. So, yeah, and it's not like weird. Like I never thought that I'm expected to sit in like behind. So I don't think anyone here, every woman here, should think about sitting in the second row. You always need to see yourself as equal to all the other people in the room.
Yeah, brilliant. Great, thanks. We're going to start taking questions. So we'll have a few questions from the audience, and then I'll invite Shai and Dan after a few minutes.
So I'm so great that I have the microphone, so I have all the, sorry. I just have a quick question for you. So if a company is based here in Cape Town, but they are addressing the global market, do you think that the location will make a difference in testing the product, getting VC or funding? What will you suggest to that company?
So I can tell you from my experience in Israel, I heard during the past week that from investors that they need like a proof of concept, so they need traction here. In Israel, it doesn't work. Like you can test in a market that is not your addressable market. Like if my customers are based in the US, it doesn't matter I'm selling to 50 companies in Israel because the profile is different. The sales cycle is different. You might be able to sell in Israel because you know people, but in the US you don't know anyone, so you need to build relationship, you need to build operation. So I think and it's only my personal opinion, you don't have to take it.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, but I think that you need to think big. Once you're going global, you need to go global. So in Israel, VCs actually, if they give an investment, they are like saying to the founders, once you're getting the money, you have to move to the US. Like R&D centers are in Israel because of the talent, and it's cheaper to have like developers in Israel than the US, but the management, CEOs, COO, marketing, sales have to move to the US. So you have to be close to the market, and you have to be as close as fast as you can, because the market changes so fast. And if it's not working, your product, there's no market fit, you need to understand it very quickly to be able to pivot and change.
So even though it's cheaper than to be based in Cape Town, it doesn't make sense to do that?
So I think it depends on a lot of things. It depends on your investors and what is your market, and maybe like if your market is emerging markets and you have like a solution for agriculture, so maybe it makes sense to stay here because in that case it's the same market. But if your market, if you're doing retail, so it's different here than the US, and it's different in Israel than the US. So you need to be as close to the market and as fast as you can, so you can get to know your customers and the local market and the needs, so you be able to just make the changes and grow fast and scale.
Great, thank you, thank you. I'll ask Shai and Daniel to come and join
Woo!
us here. And maybe before we continue with the questions, Shai is head of Google Cloud Africa and moved here 6 months ago. Daniel is the regional tech lead. Used to, yeah? It didn't move over. Brilliant. Would you like to, yeah?
It's on. Maybe just a short interview. So Shai Morgan, I've been in Cape Town for the last 6 months, but serving the country remotely for the last 6 years, or 5.5. Working with Google for 5.5 years. Also moved from Tel Aviv, different background. Working across various disciplines, various industries. So with Google Cloud, we actually serve, I think, almost every possible, I would say, segment of the market. We did a lot with education. We did a lot with VCs. Small enterprises, very small businesses, not even tech businesses. We do lots of activities around online, YouTube, and so on. And we work with heavy corporates or big corporates, enterprises, which you have plenty from. So I moved over a few months ago to set up our, let's say, Installbase or activities across the region. Focused mainly on the South African market, Kenyan market, Nigeria, Ghana. But we have a bigger play looking at the whole of SSA. And that's me in a nutshell.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So, thanks, Shai. It's really bright. I can't actually see you guys. I hope you don't mind if I look blankly at your faces. So I'm Dan. I'm the regional tech lead for Google Cloud in Africa. And what that really means is that I'm here to help everyone really understand the products of Google Cloud. And how to use them in good ways, and really make the most of the platform. So I'm a software engineer by background. I was at Google for some time, 5 years. Then I decided to take a break and go to the real world. I needed a challenge after Google, which was 2 years as head of DevOps at ABSA, which was a real challenge. A different kind of challenge, not good, not bad. It's very real. And organizations.
Bail you out.
Shai bailed me out. Not that it was a negative experience. I think where there's no pain, there's no growth, and where learning is, growth is. So I really think it was a good experience. I've been back at Google for about 8 months now, joined in the cloud role, and it's been really interesting to see the reception that we've got. Really, as Google Cloud, we like to say that it's not really about the tech; it's about the humans, and that's the thing that I'm really enjoying.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Maybe one key differentiator in between us and the rest of Google. I mean, Google is quite diverse today. We have 70,000 people, different disciplines. We follow the Google, let's say, code book in terms of innovation, in terms of experiments and so on. But we can't afford the failure. So we have 9.99999 availability, and we offer or cater, our technology into whatever businesses which are there. So we can experiment with some aspects like go-to-market, like partnerships, like whatever, But in terms of the services, I think you guys don't expect us to experiment.
Yeah.
You expect us to innovate, but the service will be up and running.
Yeah.
So
Great. Do you have something like Google is down?
didn't have it yet.
Cool.
but
Okay.
things happen.
Great. We'll take questions from the audience. There's a question at the back there, and there's another question here.
Sandros, you said there was T-shirts for questions. Well, someone said there was T-shirts for questions for the hashtag.
Yes, yes. So keep tweeting their T-shirts for everything you say. And
The question was, is there T-shirts for questions? Because, you know, part of being a Googler is knowing how to throw a T-shirt up from a stage.
yes.
That's part of the training that they give you. So, you
Yeah,
know,
we need the T-shirts here. We'll throw
Yeah,
T-shirts.
that'd be
on
great.
stage, yeah.
Hi, question for Shai. Shai, my name's Lloyd McFarlane from PSP Icon, management consultants based here in Cape Town. Coming from a consulting angle, how is the cloud going to change the way we do business? And how will it change the services companies out there, such as consultants, if that's possible to answer briefly?
It's a very complicated question, I think, or an answer. The question is simple, but the answer is quite complicated. So I did 4 years with Ernst Young. I didn't present my background, but I was working with various corporates. I was working for HP, IBM, EMC. I was working for a startup, owned a piece of it for 5 years. And again, I did 4 years with Ernst Young. The question is, or the answer is, it really depends. I think the consultancies will need to change and adapt as well, because the industry is changing, the pace of innovation is dictating some different rhythm, and we see that as of today. I mean, we work, I don't know which, I mean, we work, for example, with PwC. So PwC did like a big, I would say, leap of faith. They actually moved their entire infrastructure over to us. They implemented G Suite or Google Apps. They changed the whole perception around the way of, you know, doing business internally, externally, auditing and so on. So they took a leap of faith, and it's proven quite successful. Other consultancies are a bit behind. Others are trying to adapt. I think it really depends. There's no clear answer, but if consultancies will able to cope with the pace of innovation and the change in market needs, then that's fine. That's nice, and they will continue to exist. If not, I think maybe they will stick with traditional industries or traditional businesses. But when it comes to innovation, you can't, you know, write a paper or a document and, you know, read it, review it, double check it in a few months. I mean, there's no time for that. The competition is out there. You see it all over the place. Consultancy is great. Sometimes it's needed. It's a must. But it depends, you know, on the nature of the business. So I don't think there's a clear answer. But I can honestly say that these organizations are examining themselves today, and some of them are becoming more, let's say, tech-facing. They promote specific disciplines. They do things differently. They must innovate their businesses as well, or, you know, they will be extinct to some extent. You see it over here as well, I think.
Hi. In the middle, so you were saying the people are more important than the tech, but generally the problem in South Africa is that the nearest cloud providers are in Europe. So bandwidth is our most expensive thing we have in latency. So AWS probably has the closest to infrastructure here already. Is Google Cloud planning more networking and endpoints on this side?
Really?
Did he say a curse
We'll
word?
challenge that in a minute.
Did he say a swear word?
No, do go on. Competition is great, but
No.
we'll explain the tech in a minute. Yeah.
So it's interesting, Amazon being the closest. I think, you know, we always think of Google. I mean, probably you guys have heard of Gmail before, or search.
Or YouTube.
So there's I'm not saying that to be rude. What I'm saying is,
It sounds like shots have been fired.
no, I'm quite passionate about what I do. So you get to the sort of scale that Google's consumer products have gotten to by investing massively in infrastructure, in the technical infrastructure that can support these products, right? And one of those things is the world's largest privately owned network, which extends to every country, well, lots of countries in the world. And there is, in fact, an edge to the Google network here in South Africa. So the assertion of Amazon being closer, maybe not true, don't know. But you can get really good sort of hops or ping times from here to the Google edge, right? And what that means is that you're transiting over a private network, basically. You get from here to the POP, to the edge of the network, over the public internet or over some sort of connection to that edge, and then you're on this huge network that's privately owned and operated, which I think is, the best way to address that thing of, Europe is far away. So, take that, to heart when you're thinking about how is Google's service comparing to the others, because it's the same network that's providing you consumer services, and caching is local, etc. So that's a thing.
Maybe I will just add, but maybe you have a follow-up question. I mean, most of our competitors, even the well-respected global companies, they came up with these investments quite lately. So I've been spending my time here day in, day out for the last 6 months at least, and I read all the PRs. They're very nice. They're very informative. Some of these companies are installing their network as we speak because they want to cater or service the enterprises, the big corporates, in a much better fashion. We have been doing that for many years now, serving the consumer space. So we have the biggest network, private network in the world. We have POP servers and edge servers in Cape Town, in Joburg, not in Joburg, sorry, in Africa, in South Africa. So I don't think we're behind. At least when it comes to network connectivity as of today, when it will, we can also touch the data center question, which maybe follow or might follow, but that's a different topic. We can take it offline if you like.
Well, I wasn't trying to say AWS is better. I use Firebase, but the problem is that Firebase gets cached to the local device. Yeah. So there's still a delay in between. But I was just wondering if you're bringing more infrastructure this way. Even AWS, no one's really planning actual servers this side. It's not practical, but networking would help the community a lot. Yes. As much networking as we could get.
The answer is yes. From a networking perspective and a local, let's say, servicing perspective. The time frame, I can't commit to it at the moment, but the answer is yes.
Great.
Hey, my name is Martin. I'm a student at UCT, and I'm actually doing my master's in computer science. I've kind of interacted with the Google Cloud Platform before, the compute engine, pretty much everything you guys have to offer, which has led me to actually do kind of like my master's thesis based off some of the products you guys have. My question is in particular is like, what are you guys doing in regards to like funding students who really want to engage with your platform and really want to do science? I know you guys recently released some new infrastructure, some new technology to help with machine learning, but we don't necessarily have necessarily the funding to kind of do that. What do you guys have planned in order to kind of support universities, especially here in Africa, who we have kids who are interested in cloud and they see that's where the future is going? So yeah, that's my question.
So we have two programs. One is under my team, where we work with universities through their entrepreneurship programs, and we have EDU programs that is designed to work with students through their courses in the degree. So because of legal issues, my team can support in credits in courses. So your professor should apply online, and you can CC me, and I'll speak with the EDU team who is based in the US. I do it in Israel, so they need to fill their curriculum and details and what their needs, like if they need GPUs or not, and we grant the course with credits, so you can train and teach on our platform.
Great, awesome.
Maybe I'll add to this. I mean, we have this approach, and also we have like a more public-facing approach. So it depends. We have two. Well, let's say one major program we have, which is called OnBoard. We ran it last year in Q4. We had 2 sessions, not enough maybe, but 2 sessions, one in Joburg, one in Cape Town, where we trained more than 1,000 developers on our platform. We'll have the same, of course, more advanced training in May. I think May 9th, that's in Cape Town. I need to double check the dates for Joburg. So that's like ad hoc training. It's more of an exposure. It's not enough. We are also trying to look at, we had a few meetings this week together with Naama and also this morning at doing things at scale. So there's some entrepreneurs in the country which are leading a bigger program aimed to train 200,000 developers across the country in 4 different locations. Hopefully we can tap into that and actually service the bigger need. But if there's an ad hoc case which we can and you know which we can service, we'd be happy to support that. The challenge, I think, is doing things at scale, at mass, and not necessarily just online. Online is doable, but we are looking into you know personal trainings and so on. It's a bit early to let's say publicly discuss these programs, but we're aiming at September, which is not far enough. So hopefully we'll have some good news.
Great, thanks. Okay, there's a question here.
Hi, my name is Busiswa, and I'm doing my MBA at UCT. So my question is, maybe it's coming from a naive perspective. I'm looking at this Google Cloud Startup Program, and from a layman's perspective, I don't understand what the program is, what it is all about. I understand you've spoken about G Suite. I understand that part of your explanation, but could you just maybe highlight in two sentences what the program is all about?
Sure. So Google Cloud is our enterprise name for all Google Cloud products. G Suite is one of them. G Suite is the Gmail for companies that includes Drive, Docs, all the cloud, all the Google services that you use in your own like private Gmail. And we have Google Cloud Platform. This is the cloud platforms that we're all like talking about. So the credits that you all getting for everyone who came to this event, it's $3,000 for Google Cloud Platform credits, including Firebase. It's our mobile platform to use. It's like really there's no like terms and conditions. There are, but like you're not signing anything. You can use the credits. You can try. You can close the account if you want. But it's for you, I think, just to get to know us. And if you have an idea, you can see what tools we have to help you with your product. And it's valid for 1 year.
Basically, I'm not sure what's your line of business, but it's a technology platform. I mean, we can simplify things, but if you are building products, if you are building mobile apps, if you are building databases or big data related analytics or whatever, it's a tech websites. It's a technology platform, which you can build on and service your businesses. Yeah.
Great.
Make sense?
In other words, if you know that way, then you would understand.
It's a fair question.
Cool. There's a question there.
Kevin, just enjoying the wine, that's all. I have another swear word. Another swear word, Microsoft Azure. And the reason why I bring that up is that a company like Old Mutual, for example, they have a very big Microsoft footprint. So it's natural for them to move onto the Azure platform. Now, one of the issues that they had is that to circumnavigate the POPI Act is that they had to be aware of where the data is actually being stored, because with POPI you can't store it out of borders. So they had to go through a whole legal process in order to get that signed off. Now, in that regard, is Google Cloud doing anything to support enterprises? And what about people that are actually developing programs or platforms or applications for local enterprises, if their data is being stored internationally, will that be a hindrance to them with regard to offering it as a service to a financial services company in Cape Town, in South Africa?
So we support Poppy. I mean, it's a very simple question. It's not a simple question, but the answer is simple. We support Poppy. I don't even see it as an issue anymore. It was a big issue. We have some colleagues in the room. It was a big issue 3 years ago, but we support it openly, publicly. You can go into our website. We serve quite a few enterprises, including within the financial space, as of today, and we are Poppy compliant, HIPAA compliant, and so on. Same as Microsoft in this case, which also don't have local data centers, so they are certified as well. If you follow Poppy in a very specific manner, you see that it actually addresses the same, let's call it rules and regulations of the MCC compliance in the EU, which we support. So there's no issue with that, to be honest.
Okay. Great. I think we're gonna have the last question, and then the questions can continue afterwards. So my final question to all of you would be: what would be your piece of advice? Like, what advice would you give within 30 to 60 seconds to entrepreneurs here? So, but we'll take his question first.
Thank you very much. My name is Joshua. Question is, sorry about that. Google, how does, okay. Sorry about that again. My question is, how can we integrate Google platform and politics? The big data, elections, how can, because I come from a place whereby elections is just, you cannot account for the people who came in to vote, and you cannot account for who's winning. They just announce the results at the end of the day. How can we use technology to make that happen? No, I'm not from Kenya, I'm from Nigeria. Thanks, Dan.
So, look, it's a very detailed question, so I'll keep the answer fairly light. Big data analytics relies on you wanting to see the results of what the data says. So, if we treat data as something that is of value and something that we should care about being truthful about, that's the problem to solve with outside of the system, if you will. The platform is going to take data and it doesn't care. It doesn't care who wins or loses. It's going to tell you who wins or loses, right? It's going to tell you the details and statistics that you need to know. You have to have the desire to need to know it, though. So in terms of marrying anything and a platform like Google Cloud for big data, it's about finding the data, finding the right data, and processing it to give it the insights you're actually looking for. So it's a high-level answer, and we can dig more deeply into it over a tasty beverage in a few minutes. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, there it's more the people who have the big data don't want the data to go out. So, yeah, you have one country where they're having elections, but there's no peace, and another country has a coup, and it's peaceful. So, like, these are African. Yes, Wakanda. No, yeah. Great. So my last question to you is: what advice would you have for entrepreneurs in 30 to 60 seconds?
That's a big one. Well, I think you should, again, I have a fairly unorthodox background, so I didn't go to the university. I changed jobs quite often. I ended up here. Basically, I did whatever I want. I didn't have this, after the army trip, I was in the army for a few years. But I think if you believe in something, chase it. I'm not a tech, by the way. I'm a business guy, business development, marketing. So you find in the tech space many people which are, absolutely talented. In the business space, that's a bit more, more hard to come by. Anyhow, I'm very happy with my personal achievements. I think if you are happy with yourself, if you're passionate, if you're doing what you'd like to. I mean, for me, for example, emerging markets, Africa specific, is much more interesting than our headquarters. I don't consider myself also as a classic corporate guy. Dan knows that. So if you love something and you're obsessed with it in a positive manner, chase it. Don't ignore the signals. So if you're not good at something, just move on. But it's okay to experiment, and I think passion and reinventing yourself each and every day, especially in the times we live in, is okay and it's fine. And I flush buckets every day. I wasn't used to that in Tel Aviv, but you know what? It's working perfectly well. There's no complaints, and we can come by. So things happen. Just deal with it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Maybe the
Shai.
first piece of advice is to move to Joburg. We have all the water.
Choose your words carefully, or they might be your last.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We'll
So there's three things really. One is look for problems that need to be solved, and use data to validate that your assumption is true. That's a very important part of it. I really would like to make an application that tells me my shoe size. Does anybody else care? I don't think so. I need data to validate that, right? So, look for problems that need to be solved. Like Naama said, we've got a lot of problems. Everybody does, and so you can use data to validate that. So the second part is don't accept the boundaries that you're given, because they're not always true. There was a point here about Poppy. I'll share a vignette real quick. You'll have to forgive me for taking time over. About talking to a bank and saying, I've heard that you have a problem with data locality. Can you point me to the law? Because my lawyers always tell me, show me the piece of law and we can talk about it. And the next thing that they said was, there isn't one. It's a perception, right? It is a thing of fear. And so the perception is sometimes challengeable. The rule of law is sometimes challengeable in a respectful way, of course. But don't accept the boundaries you've been given. You have to validate those two. And the third part is think big. My shoe size is important to me. Maybe not big enough, right? We have to think big. There are many problems to solve. My shoes are big enough, for sure. I have no problem in the shoe size department. I don't understand. I'm the engineer. I don't understand the human element of everything, but that's the three, right? So
we use data. We use data to validate what you said.
That's important. So those three things, right? Challenge assumptions, think big, and make sure you're solving a problem that needs to be solved.
Brilliant.
So I agree with Dan. I think best advice is don't be afraid. Don't afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask for a raise. I think women has this issue. That's why I'm saying that. So just don't be afraid and challenge yourself. Just always think how you can do things that scares you. And I want to go back to our conversation and say that maybe you got the assumption that you need to be techie to be successful, so you don't have to be techie to be successful. There's enough solutions to... No, I'm talking from the Israeli perspective. You can add.
Even South Africa perspective.
Totally
no,
true.
so I meant you don't have to be super techy to be successful. You obviously need technology to make big changes and to scale globally if you want, but you don't have to be like this master in computer science to be successful. If you're motivated, I think it's much, and you have like computer science or coding skills, there's enough stories you all hear about successful entrepreneurs that had a lot of ambition and wasn't afraid to take chances. So technology is one part, but you can find like very good solutions and go globally without being super techy like Dan. That's what I meant.
You must know your shoe size. D'accord.
That's where ad-libbing goes wrong.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Shai.
One
Thank you
last
very
thing,
much, Dan. Yes.
Sandra's told you that you get t-shirts only if you tweet, but everyone gets t-shirts, so.
You get a t-shirt, and you get a t-shirt.
You're getting a t-shirt. You're getting a t-shirt. Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oprah. We love you so much. Yeah, cool. Brilliant. So thank you very much. We're going to take a picture and then we'll take a full house picture again, which is pretty awesome. We have another full house. Okay.